Okay, so today is a very different type of shoot. You see right behind us, this is previously a single-story landed home, interterrace. So this entire land plot is 1501 square feet. So the reason why we are here today is because our client has actually gone through the entire selling as well as a purchase journey, and they actually upgraded to a landed. So this landed that they purchased is actually from a developer, and today is actually the day that they start the demolition work. And now we're gonna head in. Now it's pretty dark, so I'm not sure whether I can see, but I just like let a bit, doesn't make any difference. So in today's context, sometimes you'll be thinking, if let's say your first time entering into the foray of wanting to buy a landed home, and then when you drive past, then you might be thinking, what is the potential of such a land? How can a 1501 square feet be able to transform, and how would it potentially look like? And we hope that this can give you a glimpse as to helping you to make a better informed decision when you want to buy a landed home. The mic is dangling out. But as the saying goes, black cat or white cat, as long as the cat can catch the mouse, is a good cat. Same goes to the mic pack. Some areas to consider is, if let's say you have the luxury of timeline, you can of course undertake this. You can always appoint a developer or architect, builder, and then run through the potential risks and pitfalls as well as blind spots. The good thing is you can design your own type of design. We are in a 2-story landed zoning, which means that you can build to 2.5. As long as you keep to within the 2-story landed zoning, which means 2.5, internally you can still build what we call the mezzanine. Or when we want to sell into a landed home, the number of bedrooms are crucial because some families maybe have family members of 5 or 6. Some of the things to look out for, other than the land size, is the way the entire build is being constructed. Whether you have sufficient bedrooms, how many bathrooms, and then how many cars can you park inside, how many cars can you park on this outer lane. All these matters a lot when it comes to the reconstruction. Now, number one, right, is have to buy a road line plan, because it will first tell you which category of road are you at. The category of road will then determine the kind of setback that you need to have. And with the setback, it will then determine the type of build-up that you can potentially achieve. Road line plan is crucial. It will also tell you whether will there be road line reserve. So what road line reserve means is that if let's say there's an event of road expansion, or certain areas of the home is gazetted as part of the land that you have to surrender, and this might affect like how you perceive this potential land that you are able to rebuild. The other one is also you might want to purchase your sewer line plan as well as your drainage plan. Why all these are important is because some sewer lines requires like reinforced concrete trench, and all those will add up into your costing, and it might affect your foundation, your footings, and this will also potentially affect how you can potentially rebuild your land. And we are thinking, hey, do I have the huge rebuilding potential? Normally what we do at Property Brothers is that we will purchase these plans on behalf of our clients first, so that we do like a first round of check. Of course, we are not certified architect or surveyor, but I think these are the bare minimum kind of details that we need to look out for. It reduces any potential blind spots that might surface at a later stage. The other thing to consider is, the floor level, how much it can potentially rebuild into, just like the land that we saw earlier on. Even though that is on a 2-story landed zoning, but the datum line starts on a different level. So you are able to go deep, and for that particular unit just now, that one have 2 basements, total of 5 stories. Generally speaking, basement costs a lot more, so all those will add up into the costing. These are really the bare minimum, I would say, if you are considering buying into a landed, and then you want to reduce all these sudden surprises that might come along the way. 老板，你是怎么开始做这些的？学啦，
学徒了，已经做30多年了。
哦，做30多年了，然后就自己慢慢学，慢慢做，变成老板。
万事都是这样的嘛，
哇，
不懂学到懂嘛，哈。
哇 ，start from nothing until a boss today. So the first step that they're going to do is to remove all this roof tiling first. After that, they will then start to remove the side walls so that they will protect the owners, the party wall on the neighbors first before they start to do all the demolition work in the middle of the house. It will probably take about 2 weeks for a single story, and then once they left with the rubble, then it is easier for them to remove all the debris before they start to flatten and then they start the piling work. So what they are doing now is they also want to be very mindful to the neighbors so that they also seal up potentially any opening and to prevent any water seepage to neighbors. It's very important because we have heard of cases where some of the other neighbors, when they did the demolition work and then water started to seep into their house. So this will cause a lot of friction and also a lot of repair works. Usually before they start work, the developers will then have to do a pre-con survey to the surrounding neighbors and then to provide warranty for any potential damage. So demolition work is not so straightforward, not so simple. It has to be done in a very calculated and meticulous approach. Part of the consideration is they also have to apply to LTA, and then the portion behind belongs to BCA, and I think these are some of the considerations. So back to here, I think this will be completed in like 2 days or so. First step of demolition work is to remove all this entire tiling work first. At the same time, when they're removing the roof tiles, they are also patching up the neighbor's party wall. Some older flats might have things like asbestos. So asbestos, cancer-causing material, which also means that you need a qualified personnel to engage them to remove, substance like asbestos, which was widely used as part of construction materials last time. But this has since been banned. If you're buying old-landed, you might have to factor all this costing in. Okay, so that's all for today, which is day 0, and I think we'll revisit again. So last time around we were here, it was on 5th of July. Why we were here is to document this entire journey of a single story becoming a 3-story. Fast forward to now, that's about 9 months later. We're going to show you what this single story has been transformed. 4 bedrooms, air well, a lift. This is actually the house that is standing right behind us. I'm personally very excited, so let's go. Hello, 你好，你好。Okay, so just to give some context, this is currently a 2-story with mezzanine. So then, the developer do it in such a way that they play around with the height control, but yet it doesn't compromise in terms of the number of bedrooms, which is one of the essential factors. Submission of TOP will be end of this month, so it will take the whole journey to be at about 9 to 10 months of whole rebuilding process. Of course, TOP will then have to submit for the TOP cert by BCA. This will be the air well. And it's very rare for us to find air well for a land size of 1501. And most of the air well that we see are usually in the range of about 2,000 over square feet. To find an air well in 1501, I think this is beautifully done. The lift right over here. Of course, as you move towards here, your dining zone will then be here. Common bath over here, and then towards the back will be your backyard area, and backyard area will also have your home shelter, and then of course your helper's room. So I think all these are pretty nice spots. So right now what you see, I think the staircase, space is quite comfortable. Let's head up to the second floor. You have 2 bedrooms. So then the bedroom is here, the air well, and then behind will then be the backyard. So you have air coming in from both sides. Of course, you can choose not to build an air well, but I think what the owners and what the developer wants to achieve is not the normal kind of configuration. Okay, check this out, man. This is quite a generous ceiling height, so I'm not sure whether there will be a false ceiling, but very big enough space. You have the airwell, the ensuite over there. This will then be the roof terrace. So these are all the off-form concrete that you can see over here. So it's pretty nice. This was one of the requirements that we put forward to the developer back then. They were flexible to change the facade of the house, and then of course all this is done in such a way that it also prevents the the harsh west sun. Maybe you want to go in. So this will be the fourth bedroom. I think this gives you a good glimpse in terms of how you can achieve the space. Why this can be part of a consideration is also because if you want to keep your entire quantum low, of course if you want to go for a bigger land size, you can do so. Just to give you some context, 2,000 land size at Siglap, asking price of $4.75 million. On the other hand, if you were to buy this plot like this, top up a bit more, 4.8, 4.9, you can buy something that is rebuilt into this context. The overall pricing would then be amortized into your mortgage. On the other hand, you can buy something that is original condition, say, I think today's context maybe about 3 mil, plus a construction loan. So then when you do that, you are running two mortgages at the same time. One is on the housing loan of about 3 million purchase price, and then the other one would then be on the construction loan. That will be at about 3 months SORA plus 2% spread in today's context. We're just having a chat with the developer. Smaller land size of this, in their opinion, is harder to build because when you are building, you also have to take into consideration of things like your materials, haulage, and then your skid tanks. And smaller land plot will naturally have a smaller footprint for you to have all these things, so you have to plan your workflow and stuff like that. Just to make it more succinct, to break down the timeline, I would say give yourself 5 to 6 months in terms of the pre-con survey as well as ironing out your own requirements and plans and submit to BCA for approval. From the point that the hoarding is up until TOP, you can probably set aside 1 year, and then of course you can collect the keys and then get the CSC before handing over to the owners. So that will be the rough timeline that you would expect from buying a single story to rebuild to this current state. Just note to take is, if today you're buying as a buyer, make sure that in between there is no other variation orders, because the more variation orders there are also means that you have to write into BCA, submit the plan, and then redo everything again. So iron out all the details first. All that is done, submit to BCA so that your contractor can also kickstart the work without any other changes or delay. A few other key things to take note of is today, of course, if you buy, you can buy, appoint a contractor or an architect, and then have all these things done. That is one. Or you can do the other way around, which is just like what our clients did, buy direct from a developer. They will take care of everything. Of course, just make sure you look into the contract. To give you a good gauge is to start seeing a few other houses so that can give you a glimpse in terms of what you can really achieve. Because to be honest, when we buy this, is almost like buying a BTO. You can only, or buying from a new launch, you can only buy from floor plans. So this was what was initially shown to us. If you see from here, the similarity is the surface here and the surface here. The lift come up to this level. If let's say you kind of want to future-proof for future alteration, you can perhaps share this with your architect so then they can make sure that the loading is good enough for you to have an extension out towards here in the event that you choose to. We have also seen other units that is when the current owner don't require 3-story, they are only building to 2-story, but the foundation allows them to go to the 3rd story. So I think these are good discussion points to have in place and to avoid any pitfalls. One, I think, very important tip is just make sure that you are pulling the power to your units. Ideally, if let's say you can have a 3-phase 100 amps, I think that would be good. Even though you do not need a lift, for example, or if let's say you do not need an EV charging, pull it to this point first, because originally where the point is going to come from, likely be from the overground box. You should pull it first, because what is going to happen is, let's say 10 years down the road, all these other houses start to pull. You might not be able to tap from here, and you might have to tap from the further power substation, which also means that your costing is going to increase. So I think that's a quick tip. Then you can just future ready in the event, let's say next time you want to sell, I think that's also a very good plus point. So I think this will be the few key things. Another very crucial thing to share is we look at this roof profile. Although it looks like wood grain, one of the biggest lessons learned is try not to put actual wood, because when you put actual wood and then when it rains, if there's no capping, what's going to happen is when the wind blows, the moisture will corrode the wood. So what a lot of developers do is right now they are putting like metal structure but with wood grains. So then it gives off the look and feel of the wood, but yet there is longevity in terms of the materials being used. So let's say today you are kind of thinking, hey, should I buy something that is direct from developer, or should I buy something that is like original condition, then I undertake a whole rebuilding process? I think there's no right and wrong. Of course, if you buy from developer, you have to be okay with their design, because by the time that they list it on the market, they would have already submitted the plans to BCA, so that when you are ready to make the payment, they can kickstart with the entire construction. There are also some other developers that buy, rebuild, and then they sell with a finished product. So if you're buying from developer, definitely they will have a premium because they project manage everything from start to end, and then they are having a typical markup, and then those will be at a premium, but of course you get everything done ready for you. On the other hand, if you were to buy something that is original condition, you want to undertake the rebuilding, naturally the overall price you can keep it down a little bit, but bear in mind that there will be a lot of discussion in terms of your requirements, which is good for you if you want to do up to your own liking, not forgetting that by the time that you take over the keys, upon completion, you will then have to start to pay your monthly mortgage while you're still discussing in terms of the pre-con survey, in terms of the submission plans, and then that entire duration will take time. Of course, you can appoint a project manager or a surveyor to help you undertake and oversee. So I think it's really down to individual whether you want to buy something that is brand new from developer, or you want to take on your own project, buy something that is original condition, and then you rebuild to your own cost. So I would say it's quite a stressful one, because we were selling their respective investment property and then buying into this one. So we have a specific timeline to meet, but at the same time, I think this is really one of the most rewarding journey, because I've seen the family grow in terms of the number of pets with the addition of a baby, and then after that I see their portfolio actually increases, buying a land plot over here, and I think it is really what makes this whole entire journey very, very meaningful. So I'm also very thankful for them, and to be able to be part of this journey, I think it really adds on to the fact that we are not just selling or buying property, but it's really homes that we help the family transit to cater to their own needs.